Let me welcome you, my dear students. My name is Saima and I am teaching you the subject Discourse Analysis. This is our second last lecture of Discourse Analysis, in which we are going to discuss about the conversational analysis. So let's discuss about the outline. In this lecture, we will discuss conversation, we will discuss features of conversation, we will discuss conversational success, we will discuss conversational maxims, we will discuss sequence and structure in conversation. We will discuss discourse marker, we will discuss conversational analysis and gender and conversational analysis and criticism of conversational analysis. So let's start our discussion about conversation. Basically, what is conversation? So dear students, conversation may be simply defined as one of the type of communication net, mostly an informal talk in which participants exchange news, feelings and thoughts. It is also known as interactional discourse, mostly informal or formal talk in which participants exchange their ideas and thoughts and feelings. Everyday conversation is so habitual. So we can simply say that it is easy to forget its status as a genre with its own norms and conversations, often very different from those who used in written language. So dear students, here we are going to discuss about the features of conversation. These are some kind of features in conversation. The first one is language used in explicit or implicitly. No thematical planning. Then no fluency, means if you are not in fluently discussion, that is conversation. Omission of sounds, loosely connected constructions, and the last one is informal limited vocabulary. Dear students, now I am going to discuss about the conversational role. If we talk about the conversational success, that is, for a conversation to be successful is most social context, the participant need to feel they are contributing something to it and are getting something out of it. So the first one is make their role clear. It's quite simple. You need to clear your role. Then the second one is have a sense of when to speak and when to stay silent. If you are good in if you want a successful conversation, you need to know what is your role in this conversation. Then you have to knowledge about when to speak and when to stay silent to for this conversation. Then develop a mutual tolerance. You need to develop a mutual tolerance. If you are speaking and other one is silent, then that is good. If someone speaking in this conversation, then you need to silent and you need to tolerate. Then have a sense of the beginning and ending, when to start beginning and when to end this conversation. Be familiar with the safe topic. If you are familiar with the safe topic, then it means your conversation is success. It is difficult to generate what is normal, polite or an antisocial in conversational practice, as there is so much cultural variation. Silence, for example, varies in status. It is an embarrassment in English conversation unless there are special reasons. For example, in grief, if you are silent in English conversation, that means you are in grief and showing that your conversation is successful and you are showing your grief to other, then it is good. However, in some cultures, if we talk about the Danes, it is quite normal for participants to become silent. Often who speaks and how much is spoken depends on the social status. The participant, for example, those if we talk about that, if one means those of lower rank may be expected to stay silent if their senior wish to speak. It's quite simple. If you are silent in any conversation and you are in lower rank, it means your boss is, or if we talk about in teaching sense, then if your teacher is speaking something, it means you need to be silent. It's quite successful conversation. Even the basic conversation of one person speak at the time may be broken. It's quite simple. If someone is speaking and you are adding your conversation, or you want to speak and the other one is speaking also, then it means you are interrupting that person and it is not successful conversation. In Antigua, for example, the phenomena of several people speaking at once during a whole conversation is perfectly normal occurrence. But if we talk about in our conversation, if teacher is speaking and all the students are also speaking, then it means this is not a good conversation. Means you cannot say this conversation is successful conversation. You need to know what is your role. You need to clearly know about your role. You need to know about when to speak, when to stay silent. Then develop a mutual tolerance. Means if someone is speaking, you are also listening it. Then have a sense of beginning and end the conversation and be familiar with the same topic. Then it is a successful conversation. So let's discuss here the conversational maxim. So the success of a conversation depends on not only on what speakers say but on their whole approach to the interaction. People adopt a cooperative principles when they communicate. For example, they try to get along with each other by following certain conversational maxims that underlie the we can say that underlie the different use of languages. Four basic maxims have been proposed in Grace 1975, that is maxim of quality, maxim of quantity, maxim of relevance and maxim of manners. If a conversation is going, then you need to know about what is quality talk, what is the quantity, when to speak, how to speak, is it relevant or not, and what is the manner, means what is the beginning, when to silent, when to speak. Then these are things included in it. Other maxims have also been proposed, such as be polite, behave consecutively and consistently. We can say that the principle of relevance is currently attracting most attention, as it has been proposed as a fundamental explanatory principle for the theory of human communication. If we say that the listeners will normally assume that speakers are following the criteria, speaking may of course break or float these maxims. For example, they may lie, we can say that as it is quite sarcastically try to different or clever, but conversation, if we talk about the conversation, proceed on the assumption that they are not doing so, then this is not good. Listener may be draw inference, means they assume something that from what the speaker have said, the literal meaning of the utterance, that concerning what they have not said, the implications of, or the implicatures of the utterance. So these are some kind of conversational maxims. Then we are going to discuss here the sequence and structure in conversation. Aspects of conversational interactions that have been examined from their perspective, including conversational opening and closing, turn taking, and sequence of relevant or the related utterance, urgency pairs, then preferences for particular combinations of utterance, preferences, organization, feedback, and other conversational repairs. So, if we talk about the opening conversation, that is quite simple. Different studies have been conducted on how to open a conversation. That quite simple. That you need to know when to open and how to open a conversation. Then one of them is so Sketchup, who have analyzed a large data of a telephonic opening conversation. That Stegloff is basically a theorist who assume conversational things. Then he took and we can say that it is quite simple and it is different way of testing. So he simply used a data set of telephonic opening conversation to come up with the following canonical. Canonical is according to the rule opening. For American private telephone conversation, according to him, he found that the following words or expressions are used to be people are. For example, hello, after being the bell. If we talk about hi, good morning, greeting, then however we cannot suppose that everywhere such as type of words would be used, because they may be vary with formal or informal friends. For example, relationship, hierarchy, father and brother. If we talk about means if someone is calling in a conversation that belongs to a Muslim country, then the starting conversation is Assalamu alaikum. And if we talk about in other countries that use their starting conversation or the canonical opening, that is that greeting is according to their culture. So the next one is the closing conversation. That if we talk about the Stegloff and Skaggs, that is presented in 1973, have also looked at conversational closing. In closing conversation, we also follow the concept of pre-closing conversation. The pre-closing is often made up of two turn unit consisting of okay, alright, okay, alright, with falling tone like alright. And if we talk about, means here they use intonation, then they also use bye bye or goodbye. So closing conversation vary from culture to culture and language to language. It is simple in if this conversation is in Muslim country, then it might be Allah Hafiz. Then in other cultures they use their own things that is according to their culture. Goodbye, God bless you, these kind of things. So the next one is turn taking. Turn taking is one of the maxims of conversation. It means that one should start by participating in conversation. One is invited to talk. It happens when one of the participants finishing his or her talk. This is happen when one of the participants finishing his or her talk. The indication or the indicated through syntactic unit and falling tone. So the following words mostly used in this regard. That okay, let's move on, please, lost from my side. So the next one is urgency pair across culture. It may be defined as expected follow-up or first utterance. For example, these pairs are utterances produced by the successive speaker in the way that the second utterance is identified as related to the first one as an expected follow-up to that utterance. However, the concept of expected and unexpected follow-ups varies from situation to situation and context to context. It may be vary when holding conversation with formal or informal friends. For example, if the first one is the announcer, that Sharon Stone's on the phone. How are you? Then caller, very good. Announcer, I bet you get puzzled about your surname. Then the caller says, yes, I do. Announcer, and what do you want to tell Patrick? Then the caller says, I'm that I love him very much. And this is the, if we talk about or they use silent, and I wish him a very happy birthday for today. So this is an example of urgency pair. The next one is urgency pair across culture. Bell in 1992 study showed that urgency pair varies across culture. For example, French and English people give response in different ways. Bell found that French workers often responded to everyday greeting like, "Did you have a good weekend?" by stopping and telling English speaker co-worker about their weekend. So this is basically, whereas if we talk about the English speaker worker, where means if the worker is irritated by this and did not respond to the question, they think that the question was an attack to their privacy. Means why? Because the context is different. It is varied from culture to culture and context to context. The next one is urgency pairs and stages of conversation. For example, hello can perform many different functions in conversation. It can be summons in a telephonic call. It may be order or question, or moreover it can be also be a vague greeting summons in streets. For example, if someone say you that your work is not good and you say hello, what does it mean? Means the pair is using in different way in a conversation. It also carries the meaning of thanks. In this way, urgency pair play more than one role in the conversation. It's like that, hello means the stress and tone of stress tells us that this word is using in different ways. The next one is the preference organization. The basic rule of urgency pair is that when a speaker produces first pair part, people should stop talking and allow to other speakers to produce a second pair part. There is, however, a certain amount of freedom is responding to the some first pair part. For example, a compliment can be followed by an accept on a rejection, or we can say be ready for the second or for the both. Means if you are saying something to someone and you want that acceptance, it might be possible the other person rejects these things. So be ready for both of these. It might be accepted or might be rejected. The next one is the feedback, an other aspect of spoken interaction that has been examined in the way speakers provides each other with feedback. This can be done by the use of response taken such as yeah, okay, all right, no, and by the repeating the other speaker's words. Like feedback could be positive or negative. So if we talk about the repair, means this is a strategy speakers use in spoken discourse. It means the way speaker correct things. The someone else, if we talk about something that they or the someone else has said, and check what they have understood in conversation, that is repair in often done through self repair and other repairs. Yani if someone is repeating something to know about that person is known it, or he or she or the person or the audience they get the things you are going to discuss here, then it means you are repairing something. So what is self repair? That speaker say, I never meant to hurt you. You have misunderstood my remarks. Then other repair is when a speaker or an individual tries to repair the misunderstanding from an other person remarks, that is person A. If we talk about person A, the audience may order colleague never intended what you understood. So common urgency pairs and typical preferred common urgency we can say, and disappearing second things is I am going to discuss this in this. If we are talking about the first pair, he want to prefer something, and the second pair that disprefer, then what is request? It might be accepted. First pair is preferred and accepted. The second pair is dispreferred and refused. And if you offer or invite something, it might be acceptance or refusal. If you assess something, assessment, then if you assess something and showing your assessment to the people, then it might be possible they agree or disagree. Means assessment might be agreement or disagreement, you find it. Then question, expected answer and unexpected answer we find in it. Then if you blame something, the other person denial something or admission in it. So these are other repairings. So discourse marker. What are discourse marker? What do you think? There are items in spoken discourse which act as signposts of discourse coherence. So the linguistics items which produces coherence in spoken discourses. This includes interjections such as oh, ah, joy, and we simply say that conjunctions, that is but, such, it. These kinds of discourse marker you are using in your conversation. Then the next one is the adverb, that is now, then. If you talk about the lexical phrases, that is such as, you know, because we are adding these things in our conversation. You better know. I know. As I am using, you better know. So you will come. These are discourse markers and they are person and context specific. So the next one is conversational analysis. Discourse is a social practice and there is non-authorized way of undertaking a critical conversational analysis. The next definition is language is centrally involved in power struggle for power. There is a power within and behind the discourse. You might know about it. Then social status of participant is of vital importance. You need to know about your social status. If you are in lower rank in any conversation, then you need to silent in it. So discourses are usually linked with the ideological growth of a nation's conversations or consciousness. Nation's consciousness, because Pecock said that discourse are in fact conflicted in nature and shapes our senses of reality. If we talk about CDA, means critical discourse analysis, is concerned not only either power relations is discourse but also with how power relates. If we talk about a male discussion or the conversation, it's quite simple. People do gender through their language. Usually it is women use most or more tag questions in their conversation, whereas men are more certain while using language. For example, please tell me now. If we talk about man, he usually say please tell me, means he use authority in it. And other difference between the language used by male and female is the use of rising and falling tone. men usually talk abusive language, but if we talk about females or men, they use politeness in it. However, there can be no finality about a concept of language and gender. Women may be use language like men and vice versa. So the next one is conversational analysis. Now the focus has been shifted in conversation analysis. Shift from native speakers conversation to non-native speakers conversation. Then if we talk about the conversational analysis of second language can be also help in acquiring second language and what could be the possibility issues in this regard. It can be helpful in if we talk about analyzing not only the language second that is basically the second language rather up to the some extent the belief of the speaker or individual speaker as well. So this could be done in dividing the students in pair as an activity in ESL means they are learning something English as a second language class. So this technique is more helpful in interaction, in interactive discourses in about second language. Then if we talk about criticism, here I am also going to discuss about the criticism. That is criticism of conversational analysis. If we talk about conversational analysis is not monolithical. Monolithical is one and complete by all means. If we talk about accuracy of data is another problem in it. Verbal and non-verbal discourse are hard to analyze completely if we talk about the conversational analysis. Then gesture and sign vary from culture to culture and it is very difficult to exact meaning out the. It means if we talk about the extraction of meaning, it is quite difficult in it. So text and context are hard to detach from each other. Transcription of data is not an easy task in conversational analysis. So here are some spoken and written discourse I am going to discuss in it. Means if we talk about discourse, spoken discourse has to be understood immediately unless it is recorded. If we talk about discourse, written discourse, you have enough time to go through to written text many times. Means these are some kind of problems in it. Have to more if we talk about spoken discourse, that have to move with speaker speed of dialogue. Use of highlighted words, bold, capital letters, words. If we talk about the italicized words and punctuation marks. Then eye contact, body language, gesture play important roles in it if we talk about the spoken discourse. But if we talk about the written discourse, you need to know about the bold things and capital things. These are some kind of things in it. Then use of words, picture conjunction to convey message and clarity if we talk about the written text or the written discourse. Then many things, if we talk about the spoken discourse, that many things can be left unsaid. Assume that the listener is also knowing about it. It is normally used in spoken discourse. But if we talk about written discourse, we simply say that means they use a picture in it while writing. Here is an example in it. All four survived out of it. Means what is it? This is basically a crashed plane. Then we talk about the next is can be conveyed. If we talk about the written discourse, that can be conveyed through body language. If we talk about the spoken discourse, that is can be conveyed through body language. You can
you can convey your message through your body language too. But if we talk about written discourse, that is punctuation mark in it. You use picture, you use punctuation marks. They are, if you can convey your message through punctuation marks too. For example, if you use different dot 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 dot, that means your conversation is still continue. Then if we talk about the spoken discourse, that rise and fall in intonation to say something very important in it. You use pauses and hedges in it. If we talk about spoken discourse, that have simple structure, but if we talk about written discourse, it has, if you say, you have complex structure in it. Then if we talk about the Halliday, he says spoken and written discourses have complexity of their own. Means their own complexity in it, means if we talk about the spoken discourse, it is complex because you are focusing on different things. If you are using written discourse, it is also complex. You need to understand the punctuation mark, and you also know about what is telling through this picture, and also these kind of things used in it. So the next one is, if we talk about the spoken discourse, the grammatically less intricate. And if we talk about written discourse, we find that no finality can had in either cases. So if we talk about spoken discourse, that is grammatically items to they are using in it. So in written discourse, we use more use of content, words like noun, adjectives, verbs are used in it. If we talk about spoken discourse, that is in spoken discourse, less use of nominalization is used in it. That is basically the use of nouns. But if we talk about written discourse, we simply find in it more use of normalizations. Means it is nominalization. So it is nominalized. So if we talk about the spoken discourse, it is more implicated. If we talk about written discourse, it is more explicit. You can explicit things in it. If we talk about spoken discourse, it is more contextualized. But if we talk about written discourse, it is less contextualized. Means you no need to context and discuss the context in it. Then depends, if we talk about spoken discourse, that depends on shared knowledge. If we talk about written discourse, it's less spontaneous. If we talk about spoken discourse, it is more spontaneous. Fillers such as these kind of things, and these are basically spontaneous fillers. So we use in our spoken discourse. But if we talk about written discourse doesn't have such things. It's quite simple. So let me conclude it. That is basically to decode discourse, either spoken or written, one needs to take into account the linguistics and linguistic and meta-linguistics features in it. So sociology, psychology, historical, religion, pragmatics, anthropology, etc. No finality can be reached because reality lies in the mind of creators. Whether the conversation is written or spoken, and we only use our pre-existing knowledge about the context and construct our discourse, and we basically decode or deconstruct or reconstruct the available linguistic scores. So the main aim of if we talk about the conversational analysis or critical conversational if we are included in conversational analysis, then it is the main aim of critical discourse analysis is to provide opportunities for critical detachment and review of the way in which discourses act to pervade and construct or textualize the social practices in a range of contexts. This is basically about the conversational analysis, and this is the second last lecture of our